Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 9 of Crunch Time Crossover. Looking at me set up now in the new studio, back live for you guys. So everyone watching back at home, please think to like and subscribe for the video, and definitely hit me up on my socials at OverEasyIsaac for the episodes. But for today's episode, just give you guys some updated standings for the league, and as well as just the All-Star game that's going on and my thoughts on that as well. And then to close it off with the affirmations that we do at the end of every episode. But to get into it today, updated West standings, we have Utah still sitting at number 1 in the West at a record of 27-8. And I guess the question that's I'm gonna continue to ask with them is if they can keep it up, or at least this type of play up all season. They've been playing really, really well, definitely closing out a lot of teams in their conference, but when postseason comes around, it's definitely going to be a different monster, especially when teams are already in the sets that they are planning on closing out the season with, at least. So it'll be nice to see them continue to play. Shout out for Donovan Mitchell also making an all-star team and doing the 3-point contest as well. I think the all-stars weekend is going to be really good this year. At number 2, we have Phoenix, who just beat out the Lakers last night after a kind of a weird turn of events with the Devin Booker ejection, but Suns ended up closing out. They sit at 23-11 at number 2 in the West, with Lakers sitting at number 3 at 24-12, and then the Clippers following behind that at 24-13. Top 4 for the West is pretty much going to remain the same, I feel, for the remainder of the league. I think Phoenix is going to be the one team that gets moved around, but again, I would just really be surprised to see Utah sit at number 1 all season. But, if they can do that, they're going to have a really good argument for postseason, in my opinion. This more surprising conversation coming out of the West, San Antonio has actually made their way to the 5th seed at 18-13. They've actually strung together a couple of good wins in the month of February. So, I don't think you can ever really count out Greg Popovich, no matter who's on his roster. And I think DeMar DeRozan is probably feeling a little bit disrespected with the All-Star game, especially with how he's been playing. So it'll be interesting to see San Antonio be in the mix. I wasn't really counting on them, in my opinion, to be part of or at least make a run for the postseason. So it's good to see Popovich still in there, especially making it happen with what he has. The lower seeds, again, getting a little bit lower. We have Portland sitting at 6th at a record of at 19-14. Followed by the Nuggets at 7 at 20-15. And then the 8th seed, we have Golden State at 19-16. Again, it's pretty surprising. I think 6 through 8, those are all 1 through 4 teams when they're healthy. Maybe Golden State not right now until they get Klay Thompson back. But I know Portland's still playing without CJ. So as soon as CJ gets back into that mix, I can definitely see Portland jumping up a couple more seeds. Like I said, I think Phoenix might be that one team in the 1 through 4 right now that's going to kind of get moved around. The Nuggets, you have Jokic still playing really well. In Denver, again, at 20-15, I can definitely see them, even if they end up a low seed, they're not a team we really want to see in the first round, especially for the postseason. So I'm not really worried about them. I think they're going to definitely make a lot of noise regardless of their seeding. And then Warriors, like I said, I was hoping to see Golden State in the playoffs. Steph's playing really well. He also is in the 3-point competition as well. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a confidence boost depending on how well the All-Star weekend goes. And then that was the playoff bracket as of right now. Just one of the teams I want to shout out. The Mavericks, have won, I think, 9 in a row over their past couple games. They're finally starting to pick it up. I know Luka made the All-Star, was voted on as a starter as well. So it'll be nice to see Luka finally get into a good play. I think one of the problem they had going into this season was didn't really change their identity much. I think they very much had the same team as they did last year. And I think a lot of teams just kind of figured that out. They were easily guarding Luka. I think the conversation around Kristaps is the most interesting one about potentially already looking for options away from him, especially after they kind of went all in for him and Luka. So I think Kristaps is good value. So I definitely think if they were looking to move him, I think they would. I don't think they would lose out. I think they would definitely be able to get a lot in return for him. So Yeah, shout out Dallas. The lower half of the league looking pretty similar again, with Grizzlies at 9 and Dallas at 10. They are considered in that play-in tournament for the West when postseason comes around. So those would definitely be some good series, with those being the 1 through 10. And then I just wanted to shout it out just because I saw it earlier, but I do respect the city of Houston for retiring James Harden's jersey on his night back to Houston. I think granted they didn't win a lot. I think that was definitely someone who poured and played his best he could for that organization. So I respect what you're doing in Houston. I respect the jersey retirement. Good for James Harden. I think he's been playing really well. I think that situation just ended up not being very good for him and ultimately resulted in him leaving. And to speak on Houston too, Victor Oladipo did not agree to a contract extension, and that's definitely a high-profile guard that can be in the mix for a team to pick up. Definitely make or break a team's postseason chances. So definitely going to be looking out to see what happens with Victor Oladipo, one of my favorite guards to watch, in my opinion, too. Shifting over to the Eastern Conference, things have definitely changed around. Granted, Philadelphia still is at number 1 in the East at 23-12, but the Nets are 23-13, and they're going to start again this next couple of weeks of basketball after the All-Star weekend are definitely going to be make or break for a lot of teams. I know the Nets haven't had Kevin Durant, and in my opinion, I think James Harden is on an MVP run this year. I think there's a lot of respect given to him, and I think for him to be putting up the numbers he's doing with 2 All-Stars on his team and still able to compete, that's just in my opinion, just knowing how the game of basketball is played, they're not only a postseason nightmare, but that's a fourth quarter team that you never want to play, especially if it's a close game, because you have 3 possessions of just a guaranteed bucket from Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie. So I think they may not be the most successful team all season, but I think when it comes to games that really matter, I know I think they've won over close to 60% of teams that are above 500 in their comp, or at least in the league. So they're a good team that beats good teams. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing them continue to play, especially when Kevin Durant makes his way back. For number 3, Milwaukee's at 21-14. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I think the Bucks are just a little disappointing this year. I think Giannis is having little glimpses of glory on that team, but same issue with the Dallas Mavericks. A lot of the same. I think Drew Holiday was a good addition, but when you have, again, Philadelphia and Brooklyn playing how they're playing, they're going to need a little bit more, and I have yet to see that. So wouldn't be surprised to see them continue to make some noise, but other than that, nothing more than maybe Eastern Conference Finals, but I think I'm leaning to Philly and Brooklyn doing that for the Eastern Conference. Boston has bounced up and down all February, but it looks like right now they ended up on top at 18-17 in the 4th seed. And I think same thing with Boston, had the same issue with Dallas and Milwaukee, very much the same team. Not a lot of additions. Boston's lost a lot of talent over the past couple of years, going to Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward. Usually the addition of someone like Kemba Walker does help, but he's been definitely struggling this year. Like I've been saying, I definitely think they need a big man presence. So if they can get that maybe centered around, just because in the East you have really good big man presence with, Giannis, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid. I think if they can fill that role, I think that'll definitely separate them from the rest of the teams in the East. And I did hear a potential rumor of Kemba Walker maybe getting traded, which would be interesting, but I think it would open up more room for other guards. But I believe they were saying to send him to New Orleans for Lonzo Ball and Steven Adams, and I think that would be a really good trade for both teams. I think Zion would do well with a Kemba Walker-like guard who can score the ball at, maybe not at will, but at a pace that Zion needs it to shift momentum in another favor. But again, them sitting at 4, they're going to continue to do well. Both Jason Tatum made the All-Star team and is doing the 3-point contest, and Jaylen Brown is in that 3-point contest as well. So shout out those boys out in Boston. A couple, tip in my hat. Raptors have made their way to 5th. I think they're kind of in that same boat that San Antonio was, a good team, but not really in the mix. But the Raptors are at 17-17 now. There's been conversation for the past couple weeks of Kyle Lowry being in the trade conversation. And I know I heard of Philadelphia ending up as one of his trade destinations. So I would be surprised to see Kyle Lowry get moved. But I do remember hearing that Kyle Lowry does have a good relationship with the Toronto organization, so they wouldn't just often send him to a non-contending team. I think they would do him pretty right. So if that is true, I think there could be a lot of commotion that happens in the East. And again, I think if Kyle Lowry or someone Kyle Lowry caliber were to end up on Philadelphia and really take that ball handling load away from Ben Simmons, that could be the beginning of that real transition for Philly, with Embiid really making like I said, still in the MVP conversation, but really starting to separate with talent like that around him, which is why, like I said, I'm giving Harden my MVP vote just for the production at the with the supporting cast he has. And I said this a couple episodes, and I'm going to say it again. The Knicks are good. At 6, they're 18-18. Technically have more wins than Toronto plus another loss. So, I mean, they're both at 500, but I'm really liking the Knicks basketball. Shout out to Julius Randle for making the All-Star game. I've actually revised my MVP accolades, and I do have Julius Randle in one of the categories, so I'll go over that in 1 second. But it's good when the Knicks are good. So I'm glad to see New York doing well. And again, I'm just going to continue to shout out Emmanuel quickly, just holding it down at the guard position. Super underrated, and I think he's potentially one of the steals of the draft, in my opinion, because he has just been playing phenomenal. And I think it's due to the minutes that he's been getting. But yeah, definitely good basketball. They're sitting at 6. Miami's climbed their way to 7th. They are under 500 at 17-18. But as soon as they got Jimmy Butler back, they were playing the basketball that we know they could play. So it's good to see them doing well. And I'm hoping that this stays true, but we have the Hornets sitting at the 8th seed, and I think I would love to see LaMelo basketball play some playoff basketball in his rookie year. That kid can hoop, like plain and simple. LaMelo can play ball. I was watching his highlights. I think he just won Rookie of the Year for Rookie of the Month for February, and so did my guy Tyrese Halliburton in Sacramento. I see you, young rook. But man, LaMelo is hooping. He's taking players off the dribble, step back. He has such good vision. I would just be really excited to see him play some playoff basketball. I don't know what the Hornets need to really put them over that contender limit. I just think they're just really young, so I think they have a lot of players that are going to do well over the next couple of years. I think PJ Washington just had like a 40-point game, and he's like 21, 22. Remarkable. So I'm a Hornets fan. I'm a Hornets fan. Shout out Charlotte. But yeah, the rest of the East, we have the Pacers at 9 and 10, at 9, and then Chicago at 10. So that would be our plan for the East. Then we're just looking at the Hawks, Cavs, Detroit still not over 10 wins. I don't think Minnesota's over at 10 wins. Technically, Minnesota's at 7 and 28, worst team in the league. I don't want to say that I said that was going to happen, but they are the worst team in the league. So it is what it is. It's hard to be good when there's so much talent out there. But yeah, those are just some standings, just updated standings. Since the last time we talked, they have updated with the All-Star game. We do have the All-Star starters as well as the reserve. So just some notable mentions. I think they said that they set up the coaches to be the most voted player. So LeBron was the most voted player in the West. And Kevin Durant was the most voted player on the East. Looking at these lineups, there's already been conversations about it, so I'm just going to speak on it. Dame should be starting. Luka's great, and I think Luka can start every day of the week. But if we're looking at the season that we've been having, Dame just, I don't know what it is with Dame. I think I've heard a couple NBA players say it's how you market yourself, and Dame's hard to market because he's not a vocal player. But I don't think that changes the fact that everyone in the league recognizes that Dame's a certified bucket getter. And for him to kind of get snubbed like that over Luka, just year in, year out, maybe not Luka specifically, but someone needs to throw some respect on Dame, honestly. Like he's one of the coldest players in the league, in my opinion. And I think he's going to be one of those players that's just going to continue to remain not to get any love. And I think Devin Booker's also in that boat as well, too. But it was LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, and Kawhi Leonard for the forwards, and it's Steph Curry and Luka at the guards. For the East, it's Kevin Durant, Giannis, and Joel Embiid, with Bradley Beal and Kyrie Irving at their guards. West reserves are looking really good. Zion making an all-star game. Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard too. They have Rudy Gobert, Paul George, and Anthony Davis. Really talented team. I know Devin Booker replaced Anthony Davis due to injury. I know Kevin Durant was injured, and I believe Jason Tatum replaced him. And I think they swapped Sabonis in for Tatum's spot on the reserves. So well-deserved. The Eastern reserves, we have Jaylen Brown, James Harden, who, again, as of right now, my MVP vote. Zach LaVine for Chicago and Julius Randle. Really good to see the young guys on there. Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and ending it off as Nikola Vucevic from the Magic. Congrats, I think the All-Star game was kind of up in the air with how players were feeling, but I think ultimately people do want to see people play. So it'll be fun. Sunday, March 7th on TNT is when the game starts. So I definitely know where I'll be this Sunday. They have the Rising Stars players too, a lot of young talent. Just not going to name everyone, but a couple of honorable mentions for the USA team. First player on the list is LaMelo Ball, and with Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton for the top three. Shout out the young rookies. Tyler Hero's on there. And then a couple favorites, Ja Morant's on there, and James Wiseman made the USA team as well. And then on the world team, Denny Avdija from Washington, Rory Hachimura from Washington made it as well too. I think one of my favorite defensive players that I've seen all season is Lou Dortz from OKC, and he made that world team as well. And the center from Miami too, Precious Achua, made that world team too. So good Rising Stars team. I think it's going to be a competitive game. To go over our the events for the All-Star game, we have the slam dunk contest with Cassius Stanley, Obi Toppin, and Anfernee Simmons. Personally, I know this for a fact, but Cassius Stanley can fly. So I think he's probably going to win this dunk contest. I haven't really seen too much of Obi. I know he's a good in-game player, but I don't know about putting on a show. But I'm definitely my nod's going to go to Cassius Stanley for the dunk contest. For the three-point contest, this is stacked. We got some real shooters. Devin Booker, shout out to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for being in the three-point contest. Stephen Curry making another appearance. We have Zach LaVine and Donovan Mitchell. I would love to see Steph Curry win this. I would love to see Steph Curry take home another three-point champion. I think him and Devin Booker probably are going to have the two most to prove. So those are going to be my bets, or at least those two to be in the finals. And for our skills challenge, we have Robert Covington, Luka Doncic, Chris Paul, Julius Randle, Domantas Sabonis, and Nikola Vucevic again. I heard this is Chris Paul's 5th skills challenge and has yet to win one. So I'm going with the guard. I'm going with Chris Paul. I know last year Bam Adebayo won it, and I got love for the big men that can play, that are skilled, but Chris Paul's got to win. Chris Paul's got to win at some point. So I think I'm going to go with Chris Paul this year. I think he's well-deserved in the All-Star game as well, too. I think the conversation of Book not making it, but Chris Paul making it, I found really interesting. And I think the only reason why I find it interesting is I think Devin Booker's always been an all-star talent player, but they haven't been in a position that they've been in until Chris Paul has joined that team. So I think maybe that's where I feel like there's a little bit of difference in why Chris Paul got that spot above it. But obviously you asked Chris Paul and the first thing he said was it's not deserved if Booker's not in it. So I know he did replace Anthony Davis, and I ultimately think Booker should have made it anyways. But shout out Chris Paul. Really turning around another organization after just taking the Thunder to the playoffs. Very impressive. I think doesn't get enough love in that respect. So shout out Chris Paul. But yeah, that'll be on Sunday, March 7th on TNT for the All-Star game. I think my All-Star MVP this year, I would love to see Damian Dalla win the All-Star MVP. I think I would love to see the NBA recognize Dame for his for the work that he puts in, silent killer, and I think Dame is easily the most respected basketball player for being just a pure basketball player. I think I respect, I'm both sides. I love players like Draymond Green who are very much emphatic and just affect the games in multiple ways. But I think I respect a lot of someone who just doesn't have much to say to you, just walks on the court, gives you 35, 40, probably hits the game winner, and then just goes home and wakes up for the next morning, as a cold-blooded killer. So those will be my predictions. And then to close off the episode for the evening, just trying to think of some things to stay positive, just some things to think about. I was away for a week or so, just had some other things on my mind. And I think even while I'm away, there's always things I think of every week to propel me into next week, and to kind of keep me going. But I think one of my favorite ones that I've been listening to or thinking of, is just, I'm very thankful for another day and like another opportunity. I think there have been a lot of days that I've lived where I never really looked, or I've never thought of them as opportunities. And I think that was to my downfall, because I think every day you have a chance to change something or improve something or at least learn from something. And I'm blessed that I've changed that thought process for myself, and I've been able to implement that to, my day to day, and how I've really changed my thoughts with little things, but changes, improvements. So that's a huge one. I'm just thankful for another day, just thankful that day means that there's another opportunity. Another one is, I'm worth the effort, and I'm worth the time that I put in. I'm the energy I expel and use for things that I like, they're worth it for me, because I gain something from them and I learn something from them, and I use that. And I think realizing how vital the time is that we have on earth, and the time that we share with other people, you have to make use of it. You have to make it worth something. And that's whatever it is, whether it's school, education, work, whatever it is, just whatever makes you feel good is something that you should continue to do. And know that it's worth it. The effort is worth it. You should never be afraid to put in effort, especially for something that means a lot to you. Something that you should feel every day, but I feel good about being me. I feel confident with me. I feel I'm comfortable with who I am now. It's so easy to find things to be uncomfortable with, and to, it's so easy to find things you don't like if you're looking for them. But I think that's true if you're looking for things that you do like, and things that you enjoy and things that you love. So, I feel good about myself today, and and if I don't feel that way tomorrow, I will at some point, because I think that's the goal, is to always try to feel good, or at least to find the good when you need to find it, especially if you need it, So, I feel good about me today. To go hand in hand with that, I am constantly looking and trying to find new ways to feel good. I think there's a lot of beauty in being comfortable, but I think being comfortable is sometimes a downfall, because you do need to experience things and find new things that make you feel good. Whatever it is, you just new hobbies, or new just things you like, and paying attention to things, or maybe doing something that you can take away from. So that's something that I'm looking for, is new things, maybe a new book, or a new podcast, or a new sport, just something that you can feel like you have a grasp of, that you can recognize that you enjoy. So I'm finding new ways, and I hope you're looking for another way too. And I think my last one for the day, and I think something that I really I actually wrote down and just kind of sat with for a little bit, was life is good with me here. Life is good with you here. I think life is good in general, and I think that because we're here, we should go out of our way to make it good, and I think you should go even further and go out of your way to make it good for somebody else, with the work that I do, in hospitality, it is a lot of the same, but I think what I've gained from it is realizing that you can really impact people in a small amount of time. You can have really meaningful conversations and understandings and, mutual respect in a small amount of time if you allow for that to happen, and granted, it may not be the easiest environment to make happen, but I feel like I take away a lot when I'm in these situations with people that are maybe vulnerable or maybe even uncomfortable sometimes, because I think you learn from a lot of people when you can see it, and it's being reciprocated. And I think that's ultimately the underlying theme, is it being reciprocated. If you can do it for someone, they can do it for you, But when you do that, I think it makes your life good. I think you get a good understanding, and I think you make other people's life good. You help them with something that they need. So yeah, life is good. If you're struggling with that, that's okay. You're supposed to. We're all supposed to struggle, but I think you're meant to have hard times so you know what good times are like. And if you focus on the good times, the hard times, I don't think will never, counting your blessings, or they always outweigh. So that was my positivity for the day. That was episode 9. You actually saw it here. Like you're seeing it here live. You're listening to it. I appreciate you for seeing and listening. Thank you for lending me your ears. That was episode 9 in the books. I hope you guys enjoyed the new studio. You can get used to my face. Again, go down to my socials and reach out to me if you have any other questions or comments. But again, thank you for listening. Peace.